Elias tuned pianos for a living, work of patient ears and quiet wrists. His rented room looked onto a stubborn tree that grew from cracked concrete. On Sundays, he haunted the flea market, searching for forgotten stories. One winter morning, he found a violin, split along the belly, strings slack, wood smelling of wet dust. A child would have said, "trash." Elias said, "possibility," and carried it home like a wounded bird. He tried to glue the seam, to sand, to replace the fingerboard. But the wood had survived too many storms. One fix opened another wound. A neighbor laughed. "Buy a new one." Gratitude doesn't pay for sound. Elias only smiled. Life had already taught him that some things stay out of tune until we learn to listen in another way. Instead of attacking the instrument, he listened to it. Pressing his ear against the scarred body, he heard a low rumor like distant surf. "You remember how to sing?" he whispered. "Perhaps you need another song." That night, with no score, he tightened the strings as best he could. Music did not appear. Attempts did. He stopped, breathed, and remembered his grandmother's phrase for anything broken. "Say thank you and begin again. The hand that thanks finds its way." Elias closed his eyes and said softly, "Thank you, violin, for making me slow down. Thank you for teaching that sound is not perfection. It is presence." The next day he tried again. The bow scratched notes like a child learning to walk. With each rough tone, Elias answered with, "Thank you." Not as magic, but as stance. On the third day, something shifted. Between two coarse notes, a thin melody flickered, so fragile it almost died from being heard. He kept going. Another phrase appeared. It was as if the violin was telling its own biography. "I was forgotten in a damp house. I survived the mold. I still vibrate. I still can." Elias played with the window open. The concrete tree seemed to listen. An elderly neighbor, cane in hand, paused on the sidewalk and stood with eyes closed until the last note. "It sounds like my childhood," she said. "Not for the beauty, but for the effort to be beautiful." News wandered. A friend who filmed weddings invited Elias to play at an entrance. "That melody that sows the air," he called it. Elias hesitated. "It's a broken violin. It may fail." "People do too," the friend said, "and still they marry." The ceremony unfolded in a small chapel. Elias lifted the bow with trembling elbow. Before the first stroke, he whispered, "Thank you for letting me try." He played. The sound was not concert clean. It was human. The bride wept. The groom's grandmother gripped someone's hand and murmured, "It's like listening to longing." Modest invites followed. Small gallery openings, poetry readings, a school's first day where children asked why the violin looked crooked. "Because we are two," Elias answered, "and still we make music." One afternoon, a well-dressed man stepped into Elias's tiny workshop. A festival curator, he had seen a video and wanted to give him a stage. "Not to show technique," he said, "but to show a path. We'll call it the Concert of Mended Things." Elias laughed, surprised, scared, grateful. He rehearsed nights, not to polish flaws away, but to make them mean something. Backstage, he repeated the ritual. Close the eyes, remember grandmother, say thank you. The theater offered warm light and chairs that held you. The first note asked permission by scratching. The second landed like a wet stone. By the third minute, the surprise, the violin found a center. The melody opened like a road after a bridge. People cried in silence. People smiled. People understood without wording that some instruments never return to what they were, but become what they could not be without the crack. Applause gathered him like a coat. He lifted the violin gently, as if it were a freshly sutured heart. "Thank you," he said, "for listening to me. Listen." He told of the flea market, the concrete tree, the neighbor, the wedding. He ended with a childlike gesture, ear to the wood, hearing again the faraway sea that lived inside it. Outside, a young woman showed him a folder of poems she had never shared. "I thought they were broken," she confessed. "Today I understood they are alive." Elias walked home lighter than a tuner should. The tree outside his window rustled its leaves like applause made of wind. He laid the violin on the table and stroked the scarred wood. "Thank you for proving that gratitude doesn't fix the past," he whispered. "It tunes the present. What's broken doesn't stop the song. It teaches another melody."